Will Smith, gay affair. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I've analysed Will Smith and his wife Jada Pinkett Smith as occasioned by the infamous Oscar slap that took place last year. If you have not accessed those detailed breakdowns of their personality, I very much recommend that you do so. And in order not to spoil the outcome of those analyses, I would suggest that you halt listening to this video because there's about to be a spoiler. I determined through those analyses that Jada Pinkett Smith is a narcissist. I did so by reference to copious amounts of evidence, and also that her husband Will Smith is an empath, that he is caught in the narcissistic dynamic, ensnared by her and kept ensnared by her. But news has been reported about something somewhat salacious with regard to Will Smith's sexuality. He's repeatedly faced rumours that he's homosexual and that his marriage to Jada Pinkett Smith was a marriage of convenience. Well, according to something called Ace Showbiz, an article there claims that Will Smith has been involved in a gay affair. The article states, in a new interview, the Emancipation actor's former friend and assistant, brother Bilal, recalls the time he walked in on the Oscar winner, engaging in sexual acts with the ride or die star. Jada Pinkett Smith apparently is not the only one who had an entanglement during her marriage to Will Smith. The Wild Wild West star has been accused of having a gay affair with actor Dwayne Martin. Spilling the beans was Will's former friend and assistant, brother Bilal. In a new interview with Tasha K, brother recalled the time he walked in on the Oscar winner, engaging in sexual acts with the Deliver Us from Eva star. I opened the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne having anal sex with Will, brother said in a clip of the interview. Tasha said she needed time to process the shocking revelation before brother went on detailing it was a couch and Will was bent over on the couch and Dwayne was standing up, killing him, murdering. It was murder in there. In another part of the interview, brother suggested that Will was with Jada because he needed that validation. He additionally claimed that the worthy author was dissing her husband over his manhood, saying he had a small dick. This isn't the first time that Will and Dwayne have been accused of being more than just friends, but they have long maintained that they are not gay. Both of them were also married to their respective partners, Jada and Tisha Campbell, at the time. It was only a few weeks ago that Jada shocked everyone with her bombshell revelation in her memoir Worthy that she had split from Will since 2016 but never pursued a divorce. Following subsequent interviews, she then clarified that she and the King Richard star rekindled her romance with the Oscar winner following an incident at the 2022 Academy Awards, where he slapped Chris Rock on stage. This is where the media wants to clamp on something and spin it all around, and I get it. Yes, we were separated for 7 years until Oscars night, the 52-year-old actress said at an event to promote her book in late October, no doubt revising history once again. Will, meanwhile, remained supportive of Jada. At another event in Baltimore, he admitted that their relationship had been very long and tumultuous, which of course is the dynamic between narcissist and victim, over the last 30 years. We call it brutiful, he added. It was brutal and beautiful at the same time, which of course exhibits the emotional thinking of a victim. As I stand here before you today, I am happier than I've ever been in my entire life, the 55-year-old went on, assuring. He then declared, Jada is the best friend I've ever had on this planet, and I'm going to show up for her and support her for the rest of my life. Well, another allegation that Will Smith is gay and that he was cheating on his wife. I leave it for you to determine the veracity of this material, but on the assumption that it is correct, what's going on with regard to the dynamic? Well, if he was cheating on his wife, that's not something that you would think that would be a particularly empathic thing to do, and it's not. Empaths ordinarily, as a consequence of their emotional empathy for their partner, are faithful. But as I've explained many times, empaths are not saints, and therefore they are susceptible to engaging in what would be regarded as bad or poor behaviours. And this is as a consequence of an external stressor. The external stressor pushes down their emotional empathy, causing their narcissistic traits to come to the fore, resulting in such actions as being unfaithful. Thus, the narcissistic trait of infidelity, hitherto kept in check by his emotional empathy and empathic traits, comes to the fore as a consequence of the external stressor. What is the external stressor? Well, with Will Smith, there could be two factors that have occasioned him to behave as a dirty empath, utilizing the streak of infidelity. The first is that it could be that he was entangled with another narcissist. I have not analysed Dwayne Martin, so I cannot say what he is, but for the purpose of this explanation to you, it's possible that if he is a narcissist, given Will Smith's susceptibility to narcissists and his addiction to the same, that basically he takes leave of his senses around said narcissist so that he commits an act of infidelity by engaging in having sex with this man. The presence of the narcissist causes him to act out. Repeatedly, I have dealt with empathic individuals in consultation who would never look outside of their marriage to have a relationship with anybody else, but they were ensnared by a narcissist and they were unfaithful. They'd never cheated before, they'd never cheated since. But the reason that they cheated was that the presence of the narcissist in effect harnessed their addiction, caused their traits to be corrupted, and through emotional thinking caused them to be unfaithful to their partner, to their spouse, by having an affair with the narcissist. Therefore, it's a possibility that Will Smith engaged in infidelity towards Jada Pinkett Smith, notwithstanding his empathic status, because of the fact that Dwayne Martin is a narcissist, and that affected the emotional thinking and addiction of Will Smith. The second external stressor that may have caused Will Smith to commit at least one act of infidelity, and possibly more, is quite a common one, and that is the act of being abused. We know that he's been ensnared by a narcissist in Jada Pinkett Smith. We also know that given the duration of the relationship, he will have been subjected to the sustained devaluation, and therefore he will have been subjected to a range of devaluing behaviours from her. As a consequence of being treated that way, his emotional empathy towards her becomes reduced, and therefore, in simple terms, he seeks comfort elsewhere and engages in an act of infidelity, because it may well be that person treats him far better than the person who has been abusing him. Affected by his emotional thinking, he doesn't leave the marriage, but seeks solace elsewhere. Sometimes this can happen with regard to an empathic individual essentially finding that the marriage has become boring and humdrum, and that acts as an external stressor. But it is very common for an individual who has been subjected to abuse for them to lash out in some way as a consequence of the diminution of their emotional empathy. So, for instance, their narcissistic traits of anger or argumentativeness rise to the fore and they lash out at their abuser. Or infidelity rises to the fore and it's a way of getting back at the abuser, although they may not know about it, by them having liaisons outside of the marriage. The ins and outs of whether Will Smith is gay or not is ultimately irrelevant when it comes to the question of his behaviour. What is pertinent is, if he was unfaithful, what drove him to do so, given the fact that he's an empathic individual? And the answer is, either he was affected by the presence of another narcissist, or the sustained devaluation that he was subjected to as a consequence of his wife's behaviour towards him, the abuse that he received, reduced his emotional empathy towards his wife, heightened his narcissistic trait of infidelity, causing him to cheat. It doesn't always follow, however, that an individual will always cheat in such circumstances. Certain individuals do not. It all depends on the nature of the abuse, the level of the emotional empathy to begin with, and other factors besides. But when it comes to Will Smith, this provides us with a useful opportunity to understand why an empath can become what's known as a dirty empath, exhibiting a narcissistic streak that causes them to behave in a particular way. If you'd like to learn more about the dirty streak within the empath, watch my videos Dirty Empath Infidelity and Dirty Empath Marriage Breaker, where you see two instances of the narcissistic streak of infidelity being harnessed in certain circumstances so that the empath commits infidelity. This streak can also apply to argumentativeness, to resentment, to vanity, to pride, to anger. They're all potential streaks that can be found and exacerbated within the empathic victim. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.